Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. We're going to break down exactly how a tiny startup, literally days away from bankruptcy back in 2008, did something that pretty much everyone thought was impossible. They forced a complete, absolute revolution upon the century-old auto industry. We're going to unpack Tesla's ultimate secret to industry disruption, and honestly, it completely changes how we look at business and survival. So let's travel back to a time when the automotive world was perfectly comfortable, right before everything changed.
Picture this, it's 2008, and Tesla is basically on life support. I mean, they had absolutely nothing. No factories, no dealerships, zero loyal customer base. Meanwhile, look at Detroit's automakers. They had it all. We're talking sprawling manufacturing empires, millions of vehicles sold every single year, and well over a century of deeply ingrained experience. This was the ultimate David versus Goliath setup, a tech company disguised as a car manufacturer, going up against untouchable industrial giants. So you really have to wonder, how did Tesla actually defeat companies that had ruled the road for over 100 years? Because this wasn't just a battle over vehicle specs or who had the cooler design. It was a massive collision of completely different business models. To really uncover Tesla's secret to industry disruption, we first need to understand what made their competitors so incredibly formidable in the first place. Section 1. The Legacy Auto Empire. For decades, companies like Ford and General Motors had this perfectly tuned, wildly lucrative formula. You build the cars, you send them to the dealerships, and you just let the money roll in. But here's the catch. When you build a giant machine, changing direction becomes extremely difficult. Detroit was essentially a massive cargo ship. Incredibly powerful, right? But terribly, terribly slow to turn around when the market started shifting toward electric vehicles. Their greatest strength, this massive infrastructure optimized perfectly for gasoline, actually became their biggest liability.
Section 2. Breaking the dealership model.
Now, Tesla's biggest early advantage wasn't just the electric engine itself. It was this highly controversial business decision that Detroit simply couldn't copy. No dealerships. Traditional automakers completely relied on independent middlemen. Tesla totally abandoned that. They demanded direct control. Because to them, cars were tech products. They're exactly like smartphones. Think about it. You don't go to some random independent electronics lot to haggle over your new phone, right? You just buy it directly. Tesla applied that exact same logic to buying a car. And this is exactly why they fought so incredibly hard, literally battling state laws and huge auto lobbies just for direct sales. It gave Tesla total control over 4 absolutely vital areas: the customer experience, the pricing, the massive amounts of data these cars were generating, and the relationship with the driver long after the actual purchase. Detroit was locked into a century-old middleman system. But as brilliant as this strategy was, building a car that people actually wanted to buy, well, that was an even harder challenge.
Section 3. Computers on wheels.
Let's be honest, before Tesla came along, electric vehicles were widely viewed as slow, boring, glorified golf carts. Tesla had to completely destroy that myth. First up, they launched the Roadster, proving EVs could be lightning fast. Then they completely evolved the conversation with the Model S, showing the world EVs could be ultimate luxury machines. But the true magic, that was turning the vehicle into a computer on wheels. Because of remote software updates, the features actually got better after you bought it. Your car evolved while sitting in your driveway, a concept that traditional automakers literally couldn't even fathom at the time. Section 4. The battery battle.
Tesla's disruption relied on completely redefining what a car actually is. An electric vehicle isn't just a standard car missing a gas tank. It is, quite literally, a battery-powered computer. And batteries, they are notoriously expensive and insanely difficult to manufacture at scale, yet they dictate the car's entire performance. Recognizing this early on, Tesla invested obsessively in large-scale battery production and strategic partnerships, all while the rest of the industry was basically asleep at the wheel. Meanwhile, traditional automakers were facing this agonizing dilemma. Do they move aggressively toward electric vehicles, or do they protect their massive gasoline profits, their huge factories, and their existing suppliers? They were completely paralyzed by the classic innovator's dilemma: protecting the very business that made them wildly successful rather than cannibalizing it to actually build for the future. Section 5. When legacy becomes an anchor. So, this brings us to Tesla's true secret to disruption, and it comes down to one powerful reality: they had absolutely nothing to protect.
Companies like Ford and GM had hundreds of thousands of employees, massive global supply chains, and millions of existing customers who all expected gas-powered cars. Changing that overnight, it's practically impossible. But as a startup, Tesla had none of that legacy baggage. Having zero history gave them total freedom to take huge risks and experiment. It gave them the agility of a speedboat weaving right past Detroit's massive, slow-moving cargo ships. Section 6. The Empire Strikes Back. But of course, the sleeping giants finally woke up. Detroit started pouring billions, and I mean billions, into their own electric platforms, launching cars like the Mustang Mach-E. Suddenly, Tesla was the target. And Detroit brought massive strengths to the table, deep, deep manufacturing experience, and millions of incredibly loyal customers. But here's the thing, the entire arena had changed. The race was no longer just about who could bend metal in a factory. It evolved into who could dominate the future ecosystem, software development, charging networks, and autonomous driving. The whole industry was being rewritten in real time.
Section 7. The secret to disruption.
So, to wrap up this explainer, did Tesla actually win, or did they just force everyone else to change? Look, Detroit still has massive advantages, so the future certainly isn't going to belong to just one company. But Tesla's ultimate secret to industry disruption was their playbook. They didn't try to outmanufacture the giants on day one. They won because they ignored the old rules, challenged every single assumption, and treated cars like tech products. By moving completely differently, they unburdened themselves from the past and forced century-old giants to adapt just to survive.
The biggest lesson here is that past success can instantly become a disadvantage when the market shifts. Survival belongs strictly to those who evolve. And this entire story of how one tiny startup changed an entire global industry leaves us with one critical, provocative question to ask about our own endeavors. Are you protecting your past? Or are you building your future?